in Long Beach, which sent my team and I to talk to Long Beach folks to kind of see how that transition happened. I think the challenge we've experienced, and I don't know if Public Works or the CEO felt it as well, is really trying to compare apples to apples, to look at data. We've talked about the need for expanding services. And again, my concern is truly county-wide. And so could you talk to me about what the department is doing to not only prepare the parking enforcement officers to make the transition, but what enhancements have you all made to really try to improve the experience of our constituents living in unincorporated areas?
Good morning, Supervisors, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. If it's okay with you, there's a statement I'd like to read which incorporates the answer to your very important question.
Of course.
Okay. And by the way, thank you for bringing this forward, because what you'll see in my statement to all of you is that we've learned a lot from examining this, and some of the challenges that you brought forward do exist. But I will make it clear that it's not on the employees who are sitting here. It wasn't on them. They're amazing. Mm-hmm. They're working their tails off.
And let me clarify, that was not my inference either at all. It really is to get to the core of where the work is better positioned to take place, looking at those other areas. So I don't want the inference to be made that I'm saying they weren't doing their jobs either, because that's not the case.
Yes, ma'am. Couldn't agree with you more. So thank you for allowing me to speak on this very important matter today. I'm going to talk about where our parking enforcement detail was before the board motion that you brought forward, where we are today, and more importantly, where we believe we need to expand to deliver services that both our board and the community expect of us. I would, however, like to remind everyone that this motion came forward when I had only been in office for 10 months. And just like many things I'm dealing with in our department, great people, but there are systems that need to be improved, and you brought one of those forward. This is a program that unfortunately has been neglected, and what I mean by this administratively, not by the employees, none of these employees, it's none of their fault. But as we stated in the October meeting, we would like an opportunity to improve the services that we deliver. That is clear from what you brought forward and from what we're hearing. Since the board motion, my executive team has examined the operation of the parking enforcement detail, and I do admit there are areas that we could have done better, and our department has prioritized these issues. We've also worked collaboratively with both the CEO and the Department of Public Works to provide both departments a complete picture of the operational and administrative functions of parking enforcement. Parking is a complicated issue with many contributing factors, including density, specifically the availability of parking, which there's very little of, seeing more multi-generational families in a lot of the areas, specifically represented by your district and Supervisor Solis. But as I sit here before you, I believe the Sheriff's Department is the best place for parking enforcement, for the safety and security of our personnel, training of our personnel, providing access to specific systems, and for all of the administrative functions. Currently, the parking enforcement detail has 90 budgeted positions, 12 supervising parking control officers, 69 parking control officers, and 9 administrative staff. I do want to highlight that in this detail currently, there are no sworn budgeted positions in the parking enforcement division. It's all civilian, and you see a lot of them here in the audience. In October of 2023, when the issue came before the board, this detail had 25 vacancies, which included 22 parking control officers. This has improved by a lot of hard work, and I will talk about the vacant positions filled when I discuss our current state. Parking enforcement detail generates on a monthly basis over 22,000 citations. And I heard you loud and clear comparing it to others, and those are things that we have to look at, but also realize that because of that neglect, weren't focused on filling the vacancies as we have been since you brought this to our attention. So we appreciate that. Over 1,800 warnings and red tags issued, over 100 abandoned vehicles and recoveries, over 120 stolen vehicles recovered, I should say. And again, this is just on a monthly basis, an average. Answers 500 service calls pertaining to parking issues, and our field units drive approximately 32,420 miles per month. The parking enforcement detail regularly attends community meetings in our station areas to discuss parking concerns, continuing to build rapport with the community stakeholders and residents to address parking issues. The parking enforcement detail is an alternative response to our department. These civilian employees assist our community by answering parking-related issues, freeing up our deputies to focus on crimes in progress and emergent calls. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department provides parking control officers the following training to ensure their safety and the safety of the employees is the primary reason why I believe parking enforcement should remain within the Sheriff's Department. So some of the examples of training: de-escalation, communication, radio use, communication skills, OC spray training with pepper spray, because unfortunately our employees get in confrontations where they are attacked within our communities. Mobile digital computer training and driving classes, just to name a few. Parking control officers have been trained in proper radio communication to request a deputy who can respond within minutes for routine backup or emergency assistance. And I just want to clarify for all the board members, the difference is when you are in direct contact with our communication center, you call for help and you're going to get a deputy rolling really quick. Where if it goes to another department, it's a different communication system and you don't have that direct line of communication.
Can I ask you a question on that, or do you want to finish your statement? Tell me your preference.
Ma'am?
No, really. No, really. No, tell me if you want to, because I just wanted to know if that has to be the way it is. If in that we are setting this system up, because it is nobody's desire to put anybody at risk. And I also know that the Sheriff's Department provides services to other county departments that go into high-risk situations between DSS, Department of Child and Family Services, a variety of county departments. And so I would not assume that there would be a delay for any other county employee who is entering a risky situation to have a response. So I'm open and curious as to whether or not an infrastructure could be put in place that if the parking enforcement officers feel that they are in a risky situation, that they could access someone again within 2 to 3 minutes. That you don't have to work for the Sheriff's Department as a county employee to feel that your safety would be protected by a fellow county employee.
We will lay our life on the line for anybody out there, including our county employees. There is no question about that. To clarify my statement is, if you are asking for help and you have direct radio communication with me on a daily basis, those are seconds, maybe a minute that gets saved, as opposed to me having to maybe reach out to Supervisor Solis, who then has to reach out to somebody else and adds minutes to it. Those minutes can save somebody's life. The intent is always to help anybody and everybody as quickly as we possibly can.
I get that, and I guess my question is, as we are setting up this infrastructure, my question is, why could we not make sure that we have the communication that is direct? That just because you're in another county department, why could we not have that infrastructure where the where the request could be within seconds versus minutes? That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, and we're open to working in any way we can. But just to give you another example, if right now out in the field, in any of your districts, if I have a firefighter asking for help, they have to go through their radio communications to go to ours to get us. Those are very valuable minutes. All I'm saying is, there is a little bit of an impediment, and those are things that I believe it's my responsibility to put out to all of you as we are considering this. Thank you. And I do want to give another example that I have written here. Recently, one of our parking control employees utilized his radio to request emergency assistance when a citizen chased him while wielding a machete, resulting in a deputy responding and arriving in less than 2 minutes, thus securing the safety of our employee. And it's just examples like that that unfortunately occur within our community from time to time. Moving on, improvements made since the October board meeting. And I think it goes back to the question you asked. Again, October 2023, when the issue came before the board, this detail had 25 vacancies, 25. We have hired 9 additional parking control officers, reducing the number of vacancies to 13. And we currently have 4 in backgrounds. So the 9 are still out in training, which will add, maybe not good news for everyone out there, add more parking citations, which would fulfill our community's request. So we're getting there. Remember, you brought this to us. We didn't sit on our hands. We said, we're going to change this. So we're making improvements. One major complaint we heard from our board when this motion was brought forward was the deployment dates and times of parking control officers. In response to your concerns and working directly with your offices, we have personnel adjusting their hours and working overtime to provide coverage from approximately 3 a.m. To 10 p.m. when needed and depending on the community services needs. So again, communication, listening, making adjustments, and improving. And that's us in management. So, because you brought this forward. Through the process, we've determined that better communication can occur between the departments, meaning sheriffs and public works. So I'd like to work with the Department of Public Works, recognizing their role as road commissioner, Mr. Commissioner, to develop training for our parking control officers about signage and the process and steps that are undertaken to improve and create signage. Because that again was something that I heard loud and clear with the signage. So our team got together and how can we do this better? So I'm stressing that better communication and understanding of our roles will assist all of us and at the end of the day provide the service that our community deserves. We've had discussions with Public Works regarding each department designating a single contact person to act as a liaison to improve communication and cooperation. So again, we're on the path to significant improvement. The parking enforcement
in April of 2019, because of the issues that we're talking about here that East LA and City Terrace have faced in other unincorporated areas, but more importantly, East LA. And one of the things that I think still concerns me in all this discussion is that regardless of where we go eventually, I want to see some fairness provided for areas and in the unincorporated area, in particular City Terrace and East LA. And according to the data that I have, roughly, I understand that 20% of the countywide citations in 2023 occurred in East LA, generating $4.2 million of a total of $14.8 million in citations countywide. And according to the CEO's report of October 6, 2021, in a report back on a previous motion that I had, it was noted that LASD collected, based on a 3-year average, $3.47 million from citations, but only invested $1.15 million of it in staffing and vendors' fees and DMV fees. So I guess it goes back to that notion that where's the fairness here? So regardless of where it ends up, I'm talking about equity and where the citations have been given the most, who's been impacted, and why couldn't we provide a return for that in the communities that are most impacted. And I think that could help provide assistance for and relief for our residents, because it is problematic that we also have issues over the weekend and after 3 o'clock. That's when most people come home, or Friday, Thursday through whatever, Monday. Issues are coming. We get the calls. I've also subsidized some of the costs through my own discretionary money, and I don't want to have to do that. I don't think any of us should have to do that. So I would hope to see a model plan that actually provides fairness, equity, and that we do manage time. And I'm glad that, you know, the folks are here that are out in the blue shirts that protect and help to provide enforcement. But I think that we do have to extend hours, and it has to be just like we're doing with other departments. Make it more realistic to what our residents want. And it's true, in unincorporated areas, they do feel like second-class citizens. And we do have high crime rates and all that, but not, I don't wanna say that that's a reason to have more enforcement. I think we have a mixture. I think we also have staff that can talk to our community, that are from our community. So that to me is really important, because I do believe customer service is very critical. And having the ability to know who those people are is very important, especially in areas like East LA. And I don't think I have to convince you of that, Sheriff, because you know the community. But I'm looking for that, and I wanted to offer an amendment that I have, a friendly amendment. And of course, this would have to be brought back in a motion that would include the other three items that were previously presented by Supervisor Hahn. This would be item number 4, and basically it would read as incorporate in the second and third directive equitable investments back into the communities where citation revenues are collected. Of course, there could be a way of doing that, but I'm looking at what fairness should and could begin to look like, because it is a fact we probably need more folks, boots on the ground, but we also need to make sure that we have boots on the ground that are gonna work with the community and be presente from me. And that's what I'm asking for in this amendment. So it's a friendly amendment. I would need a second on that.
Second.
And if we can bring that back, but that's basically where I'm going with this. And given what my colleagues have already said, we are already having to reduce parking spaces for affordable housing. It's impacting us square one right there in East LA and City Terrace. It's in our face, and our residents have to put up with that, and we have to explain that, but we can do it in a manner that I think is justifiable and equitable and humanely done. Those are the things and elements that I want to see. Thank you, Madam Chair.
County Council, you wanted to weigh in on procedure?
Yes, I just wanted to just so that the board knows what it's voting on for today. There was a second to the amendment, so you're voting on today the report back, item number 2, as amended by Supervisor Solis. And then also I take that because it says incorporate as to items 2 and 3. So she's also adding that same directive as to item 3. So when the motion comes back, it will include, or it should include, the amendment by Supervisor Solis.
But are we voting on the motion to?
The report back with her amendment, yes.
What about
today?
For a future agenda item?
You don't need to vote on that, you're just
Okay.
gonna put it on the future agenda.
Boom.
Okay, Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to clarify again, there was a little bit confusion on this July 1st date, but according to the motion, it says to have a report back to the board in 120 days. That was from the October motion, which would have been February. We've delayed it, we just got it back. With an implementation plan, which should include specific steps required for DPW to fully execute parking enforcement services no later than July 1st. And then in our report back from the CEO, we continue to work through operational details with DPW and expect we will refine program parameters and performance metrics as we approach the board mandated July 1st transition date. So I think everyone is operating under this July 1st, which is why my read-in for a future agenda says to put a pause on that while we get more information. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I want to thank all my colleagues for this very robust discussion about parking enforcement and how it will work in the county. I have heard my previous position referenced as an example of what we can look to in terms of parking enforcement as an option. And I will say that having led the city of West Hollywood, I can tell you that some people were very happy with parking enforcement efforts, and others were very quick to let us know that the efficiency with which parking enforcement was addressed was something that they didn't appreciate. So depending on what your vision is for parking enforcement, I think it can cut both ways. I will say from my experience there, I also learned that we shouldn't, I don't consider parking tickets to be.
Have been here for up to a month's time. We've called and not had any response. As well as we just had a recent incident with parking enforcement of someone parking here.
Your time has expired. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Christy Hernandez. You may begin. Christy Hernandez, your line is open.
Christy? We'll go to the next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Ernesto Contrero. You may begin.
Hello. I support whatever's going to get these illegally parked RVs out of my area. I want all the supervisors to know whatever decisions you're being made, the motions, the studies, the back and forth, the quality of all the constituents is suffering at the moment. There's a lot of illegally parked RVs that are in my area. I've been in the news media outlets multiple times, and something was done. I'm glad it was taken care of, but slowly, if we allow it, they're creeping back. And basically what I've encountered is all of these RVs have internal plumbing, and guess where all this goes? All the feces goes in the street, their urine goes in the street. These inhabitants of these RVs, they're not the best of people. They're gang members, they're drug addicts. I have already lost count how many times kids have seen these people running the streets wild, drugged out of their minds, and naked. These are literally third world living standards, and while we're being taxed in the first world living standards. Totally unacceptable.
Thank you.
I just want to sign that card.
Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Mel Bailey. You may begin.
Oh, yes, good afternoon. I fall under Supervisor District Number 2 and in the beautiful city of Compton, District Number 2 as well. On the northeast corner of Thorson and Rosecrans, there are illegal street vendors that result with a lot of double parking on a small residential street that have led to accidents and near accidents, also blocking driveways. I support this motion, and I also respect the attempted amendment. My question is, how will this work if as of right now, with the relationship between the sheriff and the city of Compton, we can't even get assistance with street takeovers? I don't understand how this can be immediate assistance. Code enforcement does well, but as everyone says, they're nowhere to be found on the weekend. Also, how can this work if the officials are not sworn? And due to the recent changes, I already mentioned the poor relationship. I would suggest, I know Jared mentioned the JDIC, I would also suggest to utilize the JPP, Justice Partner Portal.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Sylvester Annie Jr. You may begin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Sylvester Annie Jr., founder of The Love We Don't See. I work in District 2. And I am supporting the motion to remove the sheriff's department from parking enforcement. Currently, there's a lot of different roles that law enforcement can focus on that they're equipped to respond to. And the problem, I believe, is that we're asking them to do too much when we have issues regarding, violent crime that aren't even being addressed adequately. We're currently, if you look at the Sheriff's Department's website, you can see that they're solving less than 10% of burglaries, less than 10% of larceny theft, less than 30% of criminal homicide, but then we're asking them to do more and more, and I think that even sets them up to fail as well by expanding their services so wide. So I would just like to say that I support the motion to...
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Eli Lipton. You may begin.
Yes, hi, Eli Lippman on behalf of MOVE LA. We are a
transit advocacy organization, and we support this motion. It's on our streets, and it should be a matter for the Department of Public Works to manage, so that we can actually manage our streets better. All 5 supervisors are on the Metro Board. We are building out the most incredible transportation network in the entire country, if not the entire world, and we can't do that the way that we need to do that, with affordable housing near high-quality transit, if the county can't even manage its own streets in the best way. And so that's why we're supporting this motion. We also think there's a need to obviously decriminalize the way that we treat simple things like parking tickets. And so we believe that's also an important to address, but we really believe that strongly that this will mean better transportation, better public transportation, better active transportation if the Department of Public Works is managing this type of parking enforcement, which is vital to maintain the flow on our streets.
Next speaker, please.
Our next participant is Eric Previn. You may begin.
Thank you. And this is a complicated issue, of course. The LA DOT handles it at the city, the citations and enforcement. And I think we should remember the Do No Harm program during a housing crisis and also I think somebody mentioned we are greenlighting like crazy all sorts of housing accommodations with much less parking. So we are facing down a major disaster. And one question I have is this not going to lead towards something which I really don't like, which is kind of automated citation, where the county government just decides, hey, paying all these items is not that much fun. Why don't we just suck the money out of their veins through their chest with a device that can affix the people from afar? I think we should leave it at the sheriff's department and staff them up with the money that we would give to Pastrella while Pastrella straightens out the problems with the private schools in Studio City. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Michelle Zach. You may begin. Michelle, your line is open.
Go ahead.
Michelle dropped from the queue. Our next participant is Vandy Garner. You may begin.
Yes, this is Vandy Garner, and I'm representing Palo de Lama Woods Homeowners Association. And we're in the 2nd District. We have a Harbor City mailing address, as I indicated. We're supporting the transfer of parking enforcement. We feel that we would get better service. They would have more time to address the RVs that have been parked in our community. Double parking, driveways being blocked. Also, we only see the parking enforcement people come through on Fridays, which is our street sweeping day. So we also have RVs parked blocking the exits on Vermont Avenue. And so we believe that the transfer will help improve the situation in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Roy Humphreys. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. The Sheriff's Department in parking enforcement has been program failure since its inception, continues to the date. And for this program to be effective, it must be proactive 7 days a week. And if the parking guy's sick, somebody's got to fill in for him. And as to equity, Supervisor Solis, there is no such thing as comparing East LA to Rowland Heights or any other area as far as that goes. So getting the numbers straight and playing that is really totally inappropriate. So whether it's the sheriff, it doesn't matter where it is. We want to make this thing cost effective, proactive, 7 days a week, and the sooner the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Our next participant is Genevieve Clapperell. You may begin.
Genevieve, are you there? Genevieve? Okay, we're going to go in person. If we can get her back in queue, we'll get her at the end. Go ahead.
Amy Daniel Garcia, and I am confused confused because the Senate just spoke about issuing 30 points, okay? 30 points. But then,
Okay, we're gonna go in person. If we can get her back in queue, we'll get her at the end. Go ahead.
my name is Daniel Garcia, and I am confused because the Senate just spoke about issuing 30 points, okay? 30 points. But there's no actual data on PowerPoint presentation. How can you 30 points without no data on PowerPoint presentation? My suggestion to you is that whenever you talk about 30 points, please put a PowerPoint presentation about your data. And I want to say the comparison about the board of supervisors.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Alex Linares. I've been with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Parking Enforcement Detail for over 17 years, and a member of FCIU 721. In my hands are approximately 650 signatures of concerned Los Angeles County employees who are safety personnel, urging this board to be thoughtful of its actions and moving this function over to a completely different agency. The CEO office reports have indicated that this transition could be a costly effort and will not yield the desired results of more efficient operations. The move to Public Works will reduce the effective duties that parking enforcement currently have under the Sheriff's Department. We are asking that this board seriously reconsider its position and invest the appropriate resources in strengthening the systems already in place within the Sheriff's Department. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Encinas. I've been with the Sheriff's Department Parking Enforcement for over 33 years and SEIU union member as well. I'm not here just for myself. I'm here also for the union members, the Sheriff's Department employees, and the community. We serve the community. We think we do a really good job of it. We feel that a lot of the issues that the board has brought up do need to be addressed, and we're willing to work with the board in doing this. I happen to also work in District 2, and it's a pleasure to serve there, and my family's from there. And again, we look forward to going forward with things that were presented today. One of the things that I want to bring up is that none of the members that I've spoke with that are currently on the department want to make the move to the Public Works just because they came on with the Sheriff's Department when they had a choice to work for another agency, and they don't have the intentions of doing that. The other thing is the motorhome issues. That is something that will not change once we go over. We will not be able to handle those things when we do go over to Public Works.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Eddie Torres, East Los Angeles Coalition, East LA resident. We oppose this motion and we support Sheriff Luna to fix what is broken with the parking enforcement of LA County. We please ask that LA County Board of Supervisors invest money in the existing LA County Sheriff's Parking Enforcement so they can compete with better hiring, get better officers, and treat them with respect as you are being treated with respect. We thank you for your support, Supervisor Solis, and we still would like to have a meeting with you. God bless you all, and stay standing. We appreciate you guys. Amen.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Sandy Parra, representing East Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce. I totally agree with Chamber of Commerce, and the residents agree with Sheriff Luna. Over the past year, we've only had support from Captain Kasayanagi and Captain Dean from the East LA 1st District, 3rd Station. In regards to dealing with issues with the Department of Public Works. I also have a stack of emails, Second Supervisor, in regards to complaints that are not answered from the Department of Public Works. It has been the East LA station that has been answering the calls, and we have seen the improvement. I've also seen the improvement with the Sheriff Parks. I live I have an entrance next to City Terrace, so I have walked into very bad situations at night. So I commend the Sheriff Park Station personnel also for doing enforcement at night at the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, good morning. My name is Victor Gonzalez. I've been with the Firestone, Florence Firestone District for about 50 years living there. And I'm a small business owner. And I have had problems in the past with parking enforcement. They do not enforce the parking whatsoever. They pass by looking at the cars that are parked there illegally, no plates, on the sidewalk, impeding traffic, and they do nothing about it. I have spoken to the parking enforcement supervisor 3 times over the phone, 1 time in person, and I have seen no changes whatsoever. I do embrace the change of the public's work to come in and do their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Saxes. Again, I bring back the cover from your 6-year plan, making investments that transform lives, fostering vibrant and resilient communities, and realizing tomorrow's government today. Is this tomorrow's government today? It's so shitty. Excuse my French. Oh, by the way, does this parking enforcement include town councils? Do you enforce areas where it have town council? Report on the transfer of parking enforcement services. I love the nepotism that's going on in the county. I start to say, when I started coming to these meetings in 2008, the budget was $18 billion. You could speak on 20 items for 4 minutes. It was allowed. The board didn't change it. Now the budget is over $44 billion. You get 1 minute. Where are you going? Oh, I got it.
Your time has expired. We have one more speaker in the queue on the phone.
Our next participant is Chrissy Hernandez. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Christy Hernandez, Chairperson of the Maravilla Community Advisory Committee in unincorporated East LA. I'm calling on behalf of our membership, residents, homeowners, small business owners, and community stakeholders. We strongly oppose item 31. Please keep parking enforcement under the sheriff. This transition is not the solution. Keep personnel safe and do not decrease the number of stations. Supervisor Mitchell and Solis, you're correct. Unincorporated areas do feel unseen and unheard, like second-class citizens, and our quality of life is compromised. We live the unintended consequences of your decisions for our communities. Thank you, Supervisor Hahn and Barker, for your comments. Parking violations are a symptom of the ADUs and mass housing developments we're seeing in Howard County. I can attest to Captain Luna's testimony. We have seen improvements with parking enforcement. The local team attends our monthly meetings to address resident issues, and they have accommodated our requests for additional hours and weekends. We are extremely concerned to learn an estimated $50 million or more is being proposed for this transition, and we believe that these funds can be better utilized to improve the current state of parking enforcement across the county, and more specifically staffing and signage.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Are there any other speakers in the queue, moderator?
Madam Chair, there are no other speakers to address the board.
Okay, thank
you. Horvath and resolution this motion and putting leadership on this critical issue. Representative Cruz required the governor's office and we report the aggregate demographic information of individuals appointed by the governor, including but not limited to race, gender, ethnicity, and regional location. So requiring annual reporting starting in 2027, this bill would enshrine principles of good governance, cohesive administration, and would advance California's goal of having a government that is representative of the people of our state. We know that the county of Los Angeles has demonstrated a commitment to ensuring equitable access to boards and commissions. Given the county's diverse constituency, we know that SB 73 would advance these goals and provide data that bridge down regional representation.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Next, we'll go to Karen Danielle. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. My name is Karen Daniels. I'm speaking on item number 37 or 75. I know they're related. I'm a resident of the Santa Monica Mountains North area in Topanga. I represent a group of homeowners that are firmly in favor of the short-term rental ordinance and urge you to reconsider the timing of the ordinance implementation in all areas outside of coastal. as originally planned. We do not want unnecessary delays, which put our very high fire severity index community at risk. It is far better to implement a safer policy for many of us than wait at least 2 years given our extremely high fire risk. Topanga currently operates with two very different sets of zoning regulations for its residents. For building, renovating, boarding horses, landscaping, there has never been zoning uniformity across the North area and coastal. In fact, many cities with coastal and non-coastal zones operate with two sets of short-term rental policies. Manhattan Beach, Huntington Beach, and Santa Barbara, to name a few, and there are no issues. Please consider
Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Roy Humphreys. Please go ahead.
Okay, this comment is specifically for Supervisor Hilda Solis and her guy Ryan Serrano, who comes to the Rowland Heights Community Coordinating Council meeting and refuses to acknowledge California Penal Code 372 and Civil Code 3480, which is their duty and obligation to declare the property of 1532 Otterbein to be a public nuisance, and therefore endangering wrongfully and failing to serve their duty and responsibility to the community of Rowland Heights. And I think possibly there's some criminal liability on the part of the supervisor and her person. And what is the lie? When you fail to disclose, fail to acknowledge and address the full scope of the issue. And you can see it on my YouTube channel. Just type Roy Humphreys, and it's all there at the Community Coordinating Council. But you're not alone. The sheriff is pulling the same situation. So those are the criminal events that we'd have to deal with.
Your time has expired. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Connor Luck. Please go ahead.